Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve hlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli. Selamun aleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Inshallah, we will continue with our discussions on 10th word, which is on resurrection and hereafter. And we are studying the truths behind the stories that I read at the earlier chapters. And the last time, I guess not last week, but the week before last week, we had a retreat. The last time we studied the 10th word, it was the third truth. And inshallah, we will continue with the fourth truth today. And so, as you would remember, with every truth, we going through different names of Creator. And on the other, like the flip side of the coin, we are studying different things that we experience in reality, like justice, order, beauty, this kind of stuff. And from these things that we experience in reality, we study the names of the Creator. So it is usually taken the other way around in, let's say, classical literature, which is when you talk about, let's say, the beauty, we say, oh yes, because the Creator is beautiful, everything in the creation is beautiful, right? The author takes the other the direction and says, look at the creation, everything is beautiful. You see beauty everywhere. So the Creator, the source of these things around us, must be the beautiful one. So with the fourth word, inshallah, we will study generosity and beauty in creation. And from them, we will talk about the names of generous and beautiful. And look at the way the author puts, I really like it. It says, the gate of generosity and beauty, meaning we will look at the creation from these lenses, beauty and generosity, and we will take them as the manifestation of the names of generous and beautiful. So the emphasis is on the manifestation. It's not that, Quran says the Creator is the beautiful one or the generous one. He says there is generosity and beauty, so they must be manifestation of something, and we call this something as the generous and the beautiful one. Okay, that's a the long enough introduction. We can start reading the fourth word, fourth truth, inshallah. Oh, Zarin, would you like to read it for us, if you don't mind? It's a little bit long, but not that long. Slowly, please. In a speed that you can understand. So think about yourself.
Should I clip
Yep,
this? Or?
Sure.
I'll just keep it here. Okay, Bismillah. So I'm reading the fourth truth, the gate of generosity and beauty, the manifestation of the names of generous and beautiful. Is it at all possible that infinite generosity and liberality, inexhaustible riches, unending treasures, peerless and eternal beauty, flawless and everlasting perfection, should not require the existence of grateful supplicants, yearning spectators, and astounded onlookers, all destined to stay an eternity in an abode of bliss, a place of repose? Yes, adorning the face of the world with all these objects of beauty, creating the moon and the sun as its lamps, filling the surface of the earth with the finest varieties of sustenance, and thus making it a banquet of bounty, making fruit trees into so many dishes, and renewing them several times each season. All this shows the existence of infinite generosity and liberality, Such unending liberality and generosity, such inexhaustible treasures of mercy require the existence of an abode of repose, a place of bliss that shall be everlasting and contain all desirable objects within it. They also require that those who enjoy such bliss should remain in that abode of repose eternally, without suffering the pain of cessation and separation. For just as the cessation of pain is a form of pleasure, so too the cessation of pleasure is a form of pain, one that infinite generosity is unwilling to countenance. It requires then the existence both of an eternal paradise and of supplicants to abide in it eternally. Infinite generosity and liberality desire to bestow infinite bounty and infinite kindness. The bestowal of infinite bounty and infinite kindness require in turn infinite gratitude. This necessitates the perpetual existence of those who receive all the kindness, so that they can demonstrate their thanks and gratitude for that perpetual bestowal and constant bounty. A petty enjoyment made bitter by cessation and lasting for only a brief time is not compatible with the requirements of generosity and liberality. Look too at the different regions of the world, each like an exhibition where God's crafts are displayed. Pay attention to the dominical proclamations in the hands of all the plants and animals on the face of the earth, and listen to the prophets and the saints, the heralds of the beauties of dominicality. They unanimously display the flawless perfections of the glorious Maker by demonstrating his miraculous arts and thus invite the gazes of men.
Oh, do you like to read the footnote as well?
Oh, yes, sorry.
No, that's good.
There's a footnote that says the existence of a brightly designed and brilliantly adorned flower, a most artfully conceived and bejeweled fruit on a twig, as thin as a wire, affixed to a dry bone-like tree. This is without doubt a proclamation to all animate beings on the fine arts produced by a most skilled, wise, and miraculous maker. This holds true not only of the vegetable kingdom, but also of the animal realm. Okay, and so continuing with the reading. The maker of this world has, then, most important, astounding, and secret perfections. It is these he wishes to display by means of his miraculous arts. For secret, flawless perfection wishes to be manifested to those who will appreciate, admire, and wonderingly gaze at it. Eternal perfection requires eternal manifestation. Such eternal manifestation, in turn, requires the perpetual existence of those who are to appreciate and admire it. The value of perfection will always sink in the view of its admirer if he is devoid of perpetual existence. And here's a footnote. There is a proverbial occurrence pertaining to this point. A celebrated beauty once expelled from her presence a common man who had become infatuated with her. In order to console himself, he said, "How ugly she is," thus denying her beauty. Once a bear stood beneath a vine trellis and wished to eat the grapes, but he was unable to reach out for the grapes or to climb up the trellis. So he said to himself by way of consolation, "The grapes must be sour," and growling went on his way. Okay, and continuing with the reading. Again, the beauteous, artistic, brilliant, and adorned creatures that cover the face of the globe bear witness to the fairness of a peerless, transcendent beauty and indicate the subtle charms of an unparalleled, hidden pulchritude, just as sunlight bears witness to the sun. And then reading footnote number 3. Although all beings that act as mirrors for God's beauty constantly vanish and disappear, those that succeed them display and manifest in their forms and features the same beauty and fairness. This shows that the beauty in question does not belong to them. The visible instances of beauty are rather the signs and indications of a transcendent and sacred beauty. Continuing with the main reading. Each manifestation of that sacred transcendent beauty indicates the existence of countless hidden treasures in each of God's names. Now so exalted, peerless, and hidden a beauty, just as it desires to view its own fairness in a mirror, and to behold the degrees and measures of its beauty in an animate reflection, desires also to become manifest, in order to look on its own beauty through the eyes of others. That is, it wishes to look at its own beauty in two ways. First, by beholding itself in mirrors of variegated color. Secondly, through the gaze of yearning witnesses to itself, of bewildered admirers of its beauty. In short, beauty and fairness desire to see and be seen. Both of these require the existence of yearning witnesses and bewildered admirers. And since beauty and fairness are eternal and everlasting, their witnesses and admirers must have perpetual life. An eternal beauty can never be satisfied with transient admirers. An admirer condemned to irreversible separation will find his love turning to enmity once he conceives of separation. His admiration will yield to ridicule, his respect to contempt. For just as obstinate man is an enemy to what is unknown to him, so too he is opposed to all that lies beyond his reach. And love that is not infinite will respond to a beauty that deserves unending admiration with implicit enmity, hatred, and rejection. From this, we understand the profound reason for the unbeliever's enmity to God. So endless generosity and liberality, peerless fairness and beauty, flawless perfection, all these require the existence of eternally grateful and longing supplicants and admirers. But we see in this hospice of the world that everyone quickly leaves and vanishes, having had only a taste of that generosity, enough to whet his appetite but not to satiate him, and having seen only a dim light coming from the perfection, or rather a faint shadow of its light, without in any way being fully satisfied. It follows then that men are going toward a place of eternal joy, where all will be bestowed on them in full measure. In short, just as this world with all its creatures decisively demonstrates the existence of the glorious Maker, so too do his sacred attributes and names indicate, show, and logically require the existence of the hereafter.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful reading. With every new reader, we go even beyond, what we had before.
Amazing.
With her, she even making some, the comments about like where she's reading.
Oh,
Now returning to main text. Now reading the footnote.
well,
It's fantastic. Yeah. You should learn.
I should.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the capacity.
So let's go to the very beginning. But before we study every part in details, so who wants to give, start with some comments, what, stayed with them when we read it, even just words or maybe phrases. It doesn't even need to be a full sentence, right?
Mm.
Anything? Usually still trying to read it again so that he will understand. Ali didn't let him. Any, the words that stayed with you?
One thing that was
Maybe it should stay with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I guess one thing that I kind of I was inspired by was the
Sorry. This great thing. Yeah, put it towards you. Yes.
okay, this is with my kids.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, so one thing that I guess was kind of inspiring was the reason for sort of the like the passage says, the enmity that the unbelievers feel towards God is like something that comes out of like an inevitable separation, and how like seeing something that for in the example of the man infatuated with the woman, seeing something unattainable, and then immediately once he sees that this is unattainable, saying that no, this wasn't beautiful in the first place. I thought that was very interesting, because I think I feel like I see that sort of in everyday life, when people are trying to, I guess, deny the existence of a creator. You know, that's the conclusion they sort of jump to, like even seeing the beauty in the creation. I guess an eternal abode is something that is unattainable for a lot of people, and so they conclude that it's foolish to think that there is an eternal abode waiting for us. So I thought that was kind of like a relatable, like just being thinking of the people that I come across on a day-to-day basis. I feel like this is very interesting, like reasoning, and an interesting description of denial.
So when people, for instance, hear about the hereafter, you don't see a reaction like, what hereafter are you talking about? What do you mean with the hereafter? Everybody knows what you're talking about, because we all have this sense. We all have this desire, need. I guess it's really easy to communicate, I guess, the hereafter. With others, it's not that easy, but when it comes to hereafter, it's really easy to communicate what you mean. Maybe it's partly because there are all these movies and the stupid, the whole of it depiction of the hereafter. But still, I guess everybody has, one way or another, have a sense of hereafter there. And as you said, when you see it as unattainable, then you hate the idea. Yusuf, would you like to share anything with us? No?
Still reading.
So one thing which seems very interesting to me is that the way, so this is about the hereafter, right? And he's talking about the things that we see in the creation, and somehow relates it to the spectator. Spectator, how would you say? Okay, spectator, the audience, having some eternal abide or eternal means of enjoying the spectacle. And so I found it interesting. It's like he's saying that, look at the creation, everything is beautiful. Hence, there must be the beautiful one who create all these things. And when you look at the creation again, you realize that the beauty is beyond any imagination. It's like an infinite, absolute beauty that we are talking about. Or generosity. It's, again, the beyond any imagination. So you come to the conclusion that everything is changing, but still the generosity and beauty is still there. He gave the example that the mirrors are changing constantly, but you keep seeing the same beauty and generosity on the mirror again. It's like seeing the same image. You destroy the mirror, you bring another mirror, and you keep seeing the same thing. He says then there must be something beyond this mirror, which is unlike the mirror. Mirror in our case is a temporary, right? Because you break it, destroy it, and so on. But this image that they reflect is eternal, it's constant, right? From these changes in the creation, you realize that their source is constant. Their source is eternal. And he says, if we're talking about such an eternal beauty and eternal generosity, then it is easy to understand, he says, we should study, of course, this part, that whomever this generosity is turned towards, that the spectator of this generosity must also have a means of enjoying this spectacle in an eternal way. Hence, he says, that must be hereafter. Because this world seems to be not eternal, it's a temporary abode. So that must be an eternal realm. So that's the argument as I see it. But of course, we have to study. Like when I first read it, it sounds not that straightforward. But then I, remember an example came to my mind, which is like if you see let's say an artwork, like you are going to, let's say, a planet, or it can be Earth as well, it doesn't matter. You see an artwork, let's say you are doing an archaeological, this study, you find an artifact, and it seems very beautiful. It seems, it's designed in a way that would attract some attention, right? When you look at it, you see it that way. It's like an art piece, okay? And we can, realize when something is art piece. I guess we have this inner faculty. When you see something like that, you automatically come to conclusion that, oh, there must be some people who are, enjoying this art piece, otherwise, we wouldn't see such an artifact. So in these older times, whatever time period you are, studying through your archaeological the research, you conclude that the people of that time must have a sense of art. People must be going to see these art pieces, whatever. You come up with such conclusions, right? This is something that we are not much surprised. Such inference. And I guess, like, it's not the same thing, of course, but it's the kind of a similar thing. So he's talking about all these artful, beautiful things in this creation. And from that, he's talking about, the two sides of this, the art piece, the maker and the spectator. So, and then making some inferences about them. So then I realized this is not a strange way of looking at it, actually. Like, this is something we do not all the time, but at least this is something we are accustomed to, such an inference. But anyway, let's start with the text or your initial comments. Any comments so far? Any questions? Anything that I said doesn't make sense, that you don't understand, you find it funny, silly? Okay.
The word liberality, does it make sense to you?
No, I just take it as generosity. Generosity, that's how I read.
So it has nothing to do with liberalism?
Yeah.
It is about spending freely, giving a lot. So it's generosity. And the original word uses is for the first one is good, the word, and the other one is sahi.
So I guess the first one is like being just generous. But you can be generous when you are poor as well, right? So whatever you have, you are giving away. When you take both generosity and liberality, what was the original word?
Good, the word,
and the other one?
Sehar.
Okay. Sehar. So it's like he's being generous, and it's like an endless treasures that he's being generous from. Like he's giving away, there's no end. And the amount that he gives away, again, there's no limit. So this kind of generosity, it's not just generosity. So for instance, Zerrin, I'm sure she's a generous person. Right?
Sure.
But there are limits for her generosity, right? When she's giving away to a homeless person, she would, take some money from her pocket and then look at the bill. She says, oh, it's a $5. I should give something smaller. That's the generosity she has. But with this type of generosity that we are talking, it's like giving away $50 each time without even looking. Sometimes 100, sometimes 50, and it's not ending. Am I getting right, Yusuf? Okay, is it all possible that infinite generosity and liberality, inexhaustible reaches? So we cannot read every paragraph one by one, so I will read some of them. Is it at all possible that infinite generosity and liberality, inexhaustible reaches, unending treasures, peerless and eternal beauty, flawless and everlasting perfection should not require the existence of grateful supplicants? So, okay, first, it's talking about unending treasures, peerless and eternal beauty, flawless and everlasting perfection. Like he's talking about the artwork and the way they are being created, made. And then he says, they require existence of grateful supplicants, yearning spectators and astounded onlookers, all destined to stay an eternity in an abode of bliss, a place of repose. So I think to understand that part, we should first start from these riches, beauty, perfection, all these things that he claims that there exist. So the question is, do we really see them? Do we really see the creation, the reality as a a place of eternal beauty or flawless, everlasting perfection? So let's start from the artwork. Like, do we experience such things, or is it just he's being romantic and because he's religious, he has to say such things, the author? Right, there's this attitude of being religious, like it's like you have to talk about all these beautiful things all the time.
I would say sometimes the sky is pretty. You see lots of clouds, maybe in the summer, a lot of clouds, and it's clear. And maybe you witness a sunrise or a sunset, and that's every day. Aspect of beauty that occurs without limit. That's not something that I see. But even then, it does not seem that in and of itself. Maybe it's a rainy day. It's gloomy.
I mean, you call it gloomy.
I do. Yeah. I personally, I like the rain.
Yeah. So I usually prefer the rainy days to sunny. Like they have beauties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess I'm saying we have a limit in how much we can observe and understand or appreciate.
Yeah, like if we are talking about each and every moment that we experience something, whether we are conscious of it or not, this is something else.
Okay.
But when we look at it and try to think about it, like maybe in the moment you lose the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
But if Sarah comes and tells you that, but the rain is something beautiful, don't you think? You will probably think about it and say that, yes, it is beautiful. I appreciate the beauty.
Sure.
I am just assuming.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I think it's also like what do you define as beauty? Like I think what beauty means here, not like a sunny day versus a rainy day. So the question was whether humans in general, whether they are religious or not religious, whether they do appreciate or acknowledge the fact that there is a beautiful universe in general, or the existence of the beautiful universe. And I think the fact that like people have so many questions, like are intrigued and they are studying this, they are studying like the creatures, as a biologist, as a physicist, as you know, or even like as an artist drawing like this. So I think people do, even if they are not religious, they do acknowledge the fact that the universe we live in is like extremely beautiful, like beautiful in a sense, diverse, perfect. And that's why actually, even if you're not religious, these questions come up. Is there really a perfect maker of this universe? Philosophers even asked that before, so it's not just a religious question. Like, why would I study something so small, like whether it's a flower or a branch? Because like even like if I look at something extremely like that for someone looks very simple, like if you look at a plant, whether it's giving a flower or it's giving a branch or a leaf, if you look at the molecular level of how this is happening, this is also something amazing. So this is, for example, how the universe is beautiful from a molecular biologist, from biologist perspective. You know, if you talk to a, you know, like another person or a physicist or someone who's studying, let's say, geology, and he looks at how rocks are formed or water is formed or something, that's also like from his point of view, this is like this part of the universe is extremely beautiful. So I think when it comes to diversity, beauty, perfection, also the way I feel humans really could use like the resources, let's say, that we have on this, only on this earth, you know, like all the water resources or fuel or whatever, and we use them to our own benefit. This also shows you how like extremely beautiful this universe is. So I don't think that's like something that only a religious person would agree on. So this was my
Yep.
Yeah.
So the biologists, physicists would appreciate, and people like you, nothing.
I know.
You cannot appreciate it. So yeah, that's a very good point. I totally agree. And the examples that author gives, so the part which starts with yes, I guess it's explaining what he means with the beauty and adornment and you know, the perfection. So he says, adorning the face of the world with all these objects of beauty. So wherever you look, except maybe, you know, some part of the Philadelphia, it's filthy, but it's a human artifact anyway.
Kensington?
No, even here, you don't have to go to Kensington. Oh, anyway, so wherever you look, the creation, even the earth, that's the earth, soil. It's very beautiful, right? The colors, how they come together, earth, and then the tree, and then, you know, the leaves and so on. If you go to any, you know, part of the nature, you will realize that there is always a perfect harmony in terms of the colors. And it's so amazing, right? It's unbelievable. Like when you look at the trees, all these different type of trees, the leaves, you know, having different type of colors, especially in fall or autumn. They are all different, but they are in perfect harmony. That's really unbelievable. Like, give me some set of colors. If I put them together, you will look at it and you will say, just throw it away. Like the harmony won't be there. But when you look at the trees, it's unbelievable. All these different colors coming together and, you know, perfectly fitting to each other. Even when there is a contrast, sometimes, you know, some part of the trees are just gray or fade out, and there is a very bright another, you know, part of the tree, same tree or a different tree or other, you know, the plant. When you look at the scene as a whole, you said, unbelievable. This is like designed by a perfect artist. You cannot explain it in any other way. So anywhere you look, it doesn't need to be, nature. Just anywhere you look, you will see that the things are adorned beautifully. They colored, they colored, the smell, or the way you touch them, and all these things are really perfectly designed. So the very simple, silly example maybe, but his, cheeks. Look at them, like such so that it fits with the color, the smell. They all come together perfectly, right? It would be really, let's say, waste of material if, for instance, his cheeks was very sharp for protection, like whatever the reason it is. So this softness, this fits perfectly. So anyway, so these, the objects of beauty, I guess they're everywhere, really.
Yeah.
And then he says, creating the moon and the sun as its lamps. Like you are walking in the nighttime, it's dark, and there's this shiny object above you. It is so beautiful. Like it's so, I don't know, like you cannot make such a thing, even if you try. So this dark night and really bright object, all these tiny, the stars and so on. It is like a piece of art, really. Like nobody can deny that. Or filling the surface of the earth with the finest varieties of sustenance, and thus making it a banquet of bounty, making fruit trees into so many dishes and renewing them several times each season. So forget about, our current society in which everything is controlled by some, tyrants, and you don't have access to food and so on and so forth. Forget about this part. These are, again, the human artifacts. But the way they are designed, like these fruit trees bearing fruits constantly and continuously, like you pick them and then they give it again multiple times in a season, at least some of them, maybe most of them. So it is really interesting. Like, why? Who deserves them? Like, I didn't do anything to, have such things being prepared for me. And it is really, at least to me, it's really absurd to think that, they are because to, reproduction, they're trying to reproduce themselves and so on and so forth. It's like, being really childish. All these fruit trees are there. I'm going and enjoying them. All humans can enjoy them. And they're obviously there for me, for us. So when you think about it, it's so endless generosity. How else, like, you can explain it? The trees bearing fruits so that you can enjoy them. And all these varieties of fruits, like, think about them. The watermelon is completely different than, let's say, orange, which is completely different than apricot, which is completely different than apple or pear or whatever. Like, if it is just for reproduction, I guess this standardization would be much more effective. But all these varieties is like mind-blowing when you think about it. Again, we can appreciate the same fact even when we think about the supermarkets, for sure. But let's go a little bit beyond and imagine yourself in nature and all these fruit trees there, and you're just picking them and enjoying them, eating them. Such a generosity. Like, you see it, I guess, in the purest form with children. You gave a fruit that, let's say, Zainab enjoys, and she will be amazed. Like, she will be so happy, almost dancing just because of the fruit. Like, eating it, tasting it, enjoying it. It's such a generous act for her. Somebody is giving such a delicious thing to her. Uh, and I guess the key word here is sustenance. Like when you take it as sustenance, it becomes generosity. If you take it as this stupid tree is producing this, the sweat things to reproduce, and I'm the strong one, I'm the clever one, I just conquer their, world, I control them, I pick them, I steal it from them and enjoy it. If you take it that way, which is it sounds really foolish and comical, but I guess this is the mainstream ideology. When you take it that way, of course, there's no sustenance. You are just lucky to be there, and there's no generosity. It's just the luck and your infinite wisdom that you conquer the nature. I talked a lot, so I should stop here. Yeah, that's the reason. Yeah, I turned to you to get the appreciation.
So I guess maybe the missing thing in here is that, like the way author explains it, that sort of a realization. Like, actually, I felt like this when I visited some Arab family in Saudi Arabia, and also some Arab origin people in Turkey. For whatever reason, Arabs are generous, I guess, or at least in my experience. So we were invited for a food. Like if there were 20 people, 30 plates came, and the plates kept coming. Like in Turkey, even if you are generous, like number of plates that will come are numbered.
I will always put one less than the visit.
But the plates kept coming. So, and I remember the feeling that I had here, let somebody tell them that stop, like it's enough. We had enough of it. So, and I remember still I feel about people of that city, especially in Turkey, as generous people, because it left that impression on me. And just based on how the plates kept coming, and nobody was, I didn't get the impression that, now they're going to ask for money, or now they're going to ask for a favor, or something like that.
Just pretending.
Yeah, it was not pretending, because like, okay, my people of my hometown are good people, but not that good people. Because I feel like if there's a favor, then something else is just coming right after you're going to be asked about something. So living the creation like this in this life, when I see, and in Philadelphia, springtime is very beautiful, alhamdulillah, just seeing all those flowers in the springtime, or going to one of the farms that we go for picking tomatoes. Just when you go there, what sort of a feeling are you into? And of course, we don't need to go into those farms, maybe. Supermarket would be sufficient. But in the supermarket, there's these intermediaries which make us not see it. And in here, for example, today Birkan offered us food, and so we were saying that it was good cooked and whatnot. So Birkan's generosity is interfering with me seeing the generosity of the Creator.
I'm sorry, it's my fault, of course.
Yeah. So this is why maybe author keeps giving examples from sun and moon, and the flowers and the fruits, because these are clearly signs of generosity of the Creator. Otherwise, even smile of a person is generosity of the Creator. But as long as there are those other free wills are interfering, we tend to forget. But at the end, the author is going to tie it. So as I experience and observe all those generosity and beauty, what do they point to? So I should be, as for example, I remember of people of that city, Urfa in Turkey, say that, the maker of this life that I am living is so generous and is so artful and beautiful and doing everything beautifully. And then I should ask the question, why? Why is he doing that? Like for people of my hometown, I was saying that I know those people. Probably they will ask for a return. But this is not the case in our life. Like, I'm already a broke person. What am I going to return to the Creator? So what's the point of this much of generosity? So much so that now I can say what is going to come next based on these profiling, if you like. So and the author, the way he is now going to depict it is, it looks like he wants to be known, or there's this some sort of a joy of giving it. And if you die, what's going to happen then is the question.
That's a great point. So the example you gave about the Philadelphia springtime, like, again, when you think about it, it's like a certain type of flowers, like it start with certain type of flowers, they go, and then other type of flowers come, and then they go, the other type of flowers come, they go, the tree gains some colors, they go, another type of flowers or trees comes, and so on. It's like an endless parade. Like, as if you say, okay, that's enough, like I've seen flowers. No, there's no end. It's so much their generosity. It reminded me this, like in Turkey, especially with like if you are traveling, how would you translate vapur, like sea transportation? Anyway, sea bus, okay. A ferry, yes, thank you. If you are traveling with the ferry, there are these people who are trying to sell things, right? They start with showing you one thing. I don't know if they still exist, but they used to during my childhood and so on. They start with one item, right? They say, okay, I'm selling this for, let's say, $5. But he says, oh, do you think that's the only thing? It also comes with this. He brings something else. The both of them are $5. He says, oh, do you think it's, it's all? He pulls something else. Now it's 3 items. He says, oh, it doesn't end. It, brings another one and another one. It's like then 10 items. He says, all of them for $5, right? It's the same thing. Like when you look at these flowers, almost this creator tells us, okay, here are the flowers you enjoy. And then he says, oh, do you think it ends here? No. Now comes another type of flowers. And then now comes another type of flowers, and so on and so forth. Like, it doesn't end. It's so generous. It's as if trying to show us the generosity, putting it in our eyes, like forcing us to see. And as you said, Yusuf, like, then what is the point? Like, what does it tell us with this generosity? What type of spectators that we are talking about? Now we are thinking about ourselves, like what all this scenery tells us about us. And from there, author will, come to conclusion about the hereafter. Any comments, questions so far? Other than ferry, Ashanur, if you have anything you'd like to add? Nothing? Okay, so it's talking about all these beautiful things, the generosity, endless treasures. Such unending liberality and generosity, he says, such inexhaustible treasures of mercy require the existence of an abode of repose, a place of bliss that shall be everlasting and contain all desirable objects within it. So from that experience, that the reality that we enjoy experience, he's talking about, now he's making some conclusions about this eternal, about the hereafter. So it sounds there's a missing point, at least to me, how he can make such a conclusion. And I guess the missing point coming Next, they also require that those who enjoy such bliss should remain in that abode of repose eternally without suffering the pain of cessation.
Yes,
Cessation and separation. For just as the cessation of pain is a form of pleasure, so too the cessation of pleasure is a form of pain, one that such infinite generosity is unwilling to countenance. It requires then the existence both of an eternal paradise and of supplicants to abide in it eternally. So what I understand from here, nice stop here before explaining what I understand, because you have to speak. Come on, I'm talking. Oh, go ahead, please.
I was just imagining, let's say, usually a person who is speaking very wisely and telling you something about Quran, and you listen to this person for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or a lecture, and it's an eye-opener for you.
Let's make it more, real, substantial. Let's assume his name is Birkan.
Okay. So it's an eye-opener for you, and as much as you also realize your need for that, so you say, where's this guy from? Where is he coming from? Because you would like to listen more, but you are sure that this is not all about that person, because whatever made that person speak to you in here, like that means he has some knowledge he wants to share with the people, and definitely this sharing is the way he spoke, that is just a fraction of what he had, and he's just conveying that, and it perfectly matched with you. So you would say, what is this person's mosque or school? Because you are sure this potentiality would have a place in which he would be making constant, regular discussions and whatnot. And as much you are needy, you are also sure that if I go there, he will give more, because the way that he was delivering this, let's say, speech, he is eager to spread that message. He is into it. And that sort of a person with that mindset would definitely make a space for himself in which he would speak more about this. And he just come to here, let's say he come to Drexel or Penn campus to give a lecture because he was looking for opportunities to deliver the message. He must definitely have his own space in which he's going to do more of it. And he would be interested in not only like Drexel Penn students for 1 hour, he would be interested in having dedicated students whom he can teach for long. And you would feel that, like by just this 1 hour of impressive and very satisfying speech that you attended, you would expect the rest to happen. And if you are a recipient of the message, you would seek for that.
Like very maybe relevant example is when you listen to a scholar and you really enjoy him, you are like already sure that there must be a YouTube channel where he's, broadcasting all these lectures and so on.
Has to be.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it doesn't need to be YouTube specifically, but there must be a one type of, the medium. There must be some, more where it comes from.
Whatever made this person to speak here would make him speak more.
So, like, there is no doubt even, right? When you see a beautiful artwork, you know that for sure that it cannot be just haphazard. Whoever drew this or made this must be drawing all these other things as well. So there must be, of course, this is not a best example, but endless stream of art, you would say. Of course, depending on the artwork that you observe. And if you are talking about the artwork like the moon and the stars and the sun and the flowers and so on, you say, wherever it's coming from, there must be it's, let's say, original place, or there must be a place where you can enjoy many of these. So I guess that's the one part of the argument. And then he talks about the people staying there eternally. I guess in Yusuf's example, it becomes dedicated students spending more time with the scholar, or spending their entire day with the scholar.
The scholar would look for making such an environment, because he wants to deliver the message. He wants to deliver it to people who would be appreciative of that. He would search for such people. What is at least what we would expect, right? A reasonable scholar who has some treasures in his mind must be looking for a way to establish a mosque and having dedicated students, having some stream of education, training, and so on and so forth. And I guess the same way, when you see such a beautiful and generous creation around you, you say their creator, their source must have, another missing point. You see all these beauties and generosity, but at the same time, you see that they go away. So that's another, I guess, important step in the argument. Like, they don't stay in this world. In your example, for instance, the person comes, delivers, let's say, an hour of a speech, and then leaves. So that's the, I guess, the idea. And we see the exact same thing in this life. Like, we see all these beautiful flowers, and then these flowers dies, fades away. And then new ones comes, and then the day fades away, and then new ones come. As author says, the beauty in these mirrors, it is being destroyed, but with every new mirror that you see the same beauty reflected there. So the beauty is constant, but the mirrors are temporary, so they're constantly changing. Oh, sorry, there's a Turkish thing going on between children. Oh, it's not like, yeah. So anyway, yeah. Okay, from that point, now he's talking about the people staying there forever. Let's come to there. Go ahead, please.
Do I have to?
Yeah, otherwise the other people wouldn't hear you. Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know if I understood this differently, or maybe I just didn't understand what you were referring to exactly. But I feel like, so our next question would be, so first we agreed that there's this beauty, there's perfection and diversity, and because of that, there must be a perfect, beautiful creator. And then he has other creatures, which is basically us. And it seems like we are enjoying what he's creating. So we like to look at flowers, we like to eat the fruits. We were created in a way to like, sweet and all of that. And we created also in a way that this is also good for us, we need it. So, and then the idea is, but as he, like, I feel like this is a very beautiful sentence here. He said, the cessation of pain is a form of pleasure, so too the cessation of pleasure is a form of pain. So we enjoy these things, but we know that they are like, they are not like eternal. They are not like, at some point you will eat something, you will be satiated, you will even hate it even at some point, or like it won't be available at this in this season. Or even like people, like as you said about Ali, he will not always have these soft, nice cheeks.
or like everything we encounter here is only until certain point, and at some point it will either disappear or we actually won't enjoy it. So what would be like the perfect, if we believe that there is a creator, what would be the perfect ending? Like the perfect ending would be is that after all the suffering, at some point, like the perfect ending would be, so our main suffering here is basically because, at least that's what I understand, because like nothing is eternal. So even our life now is not eternal. So we will die at some point. That's someone's worry. We will, if you're healthy, you will get sick at some point. That's also, so your health is also not eternal. Your food is not eternal. Your money is not eternal. All of that, and even if you get more of it, you will need more. So the best would be a place where everything is eternal. That would be like the infinite joy, because the fact that these things are not eternal in this life is the main cause of suffering. So from this point, I would like come to the conclusion that like a hereafter exists, and it exists in a way to like it's the total opposite to this world. It's a place where everything is limitless, everything is eternal. And then to reach that point, you need creatures who actually, like he calls them supplicants, who are actually always grateful. Like they know that these things are not permanent, are not eternal, but somehow they are always grateful. They are eternally like supplicating, so that ultimately they will reach this eternal like beauty or eternal abode of bliss, where everything like is, you know, unending.
When you say that the supplicants always appreciating, constantly worshiping,
Yeah.
who do you mean?
Like believers who really believe, like who, yeah, like I mean, now they are Muslims or something, but I would say the believer who like is grateful of what he's getting, and he knows, like he believes in the generosity of his creator, and he knows, or he wishes, and now he knows at some point that this will be like, and there will be a hereafter with where everything will be like, you know, eternal. So this suffering will end, the suffering of separation, or the suffering of, you know, losing something, or yeah. So that's how I.
No, I totally get it, and I think I agree. Before I say something, Saira, your microphone was unmuted for a moment. I thought it was an accident, so I mute you. I apologize if you wanted to say something, but I, didn't allow you. I apologize. If you want to say something, please go ahead. Otherwise, I will take it as it was just an accident. So one thing about what you said is, just give me a second, please. Go ahead. I have to.
Yes, so I think one of the important points here that I see is this eternal generosity, or like infinite generosity, infinite beauty, requires an eternal paradise, but also of people who can keep appreciating that. This is how do we come to that conclusion? Because I guess I need to ask the question, why in the first place am I created here? Like, I do observe that there exists an infinite beauty, infinite generosity, and that infinite beauty and generosity make me a conscious recipient. So why am I made as a conscious recipient? And in the following pages, there were some interesting note about that, actually. He was saying that so there were okay. Eternal perfection requires eternal manifestation. Such eternal manifestation in turn requires the perpetual existence of those who are to appreciate and admire it. The value of perfection will always sink in the view of its admirer if he is devoid of perpetual existence. This was one of the important points. And then there, to the end of the same paragraph, there was another important point. Now, so exalted, peerless, and hidden a beauty, just as it desires to view its own fairness in a mirror and to behold the degrees and measures of its beauty in an animate reflection, desires also to become manifest in order to look on its own beauty through the eyes of others. That is, it wishes to look at its own beauty in two ways. Firstly, by beholding itself in mirrors of variegated color. Secondly, through the gaze of yearning witnesses to itself, of bewildered admirers of its beauty. This is a very interesting statement. What's going on in here? So this is a statement about the way we are now looking at the creation. We are trying to understand why are we made. And this author in here, I think, is deriving this from a hadith Qudsi. So, and he's alluding to that through his observation through creation. But that hadith Qudsi is, I was a hidden treasure. I wanted to be known and created the creation. So, kuntu kanzan makhfiyan fa khalaqtul khalqa liya'rifuni. So, in there, the author is now interpreting this as the creator looks like the creation is. In a sense, we are looking at the beauty and appreciating the creator. But author says the creator is. So in a sense, again, I think this is somehow derived from my own experience. Let's say when you make an artwork, you put the artwork to the wall and just like walk away and look at it from distance and appreciate what you did. And then you also invite Birkan and say that, show it and say, well, what huh?
Ask for money, like how much you would.
So, and saying, what does it look like? And then Birkan appreciates it. Sort of. There's not a perfect example, but that feeling is given to me. Like I do have that feeling. Now, as if the author is reading into that feeling, the giver of that feeling to me, why did he give me that feeling? Like everybody in this room have such a feeling. Why is that feeling given to me? He's saying that although not naming it as such, he is now putting a reference saying that can it be that the creation is made, that the creator is looking at his own manifestations? And he is looking at it in two ways. One is the creation is manifesting, but the second is like I can cook a very beautiful food, but then I invite a hungry person, and this hungry person eagerly eating that food is a different perspective for me of my food. Like him appreciating the food from the lens of a needy one. Like I am appreciating the food from a different lens, but his appreciation is also my appreciation. So as if he is now saying that one of the purposes in creation, at least the way now I see it, seems to be as such. And that purpose requires that Birkan should continue existing. Because in the first place, feeding Birkan, if there's a reason for me to feed Birkan so that I see how he appreciates, then I would like to keep Birkan existing so that I will feed Birkan more, see his appreciation of me cooking well. I feel like this is the line of reasoning that the author is putting here. I might be wrong, or in general, if there are any question marks, this is the end of page 80, end of the paragraph. This is what I understand from that statement over there.
Oh, sorry. So I'm just thinking like this notion of generosity, like not everyone is bestowed the same way. Like some people may be rich, some people may be poor. So there might be people who are filthy rich and not believers, but have a lot of bounties, access to them. So like tons of food and everything that you can imagine. Whereas some people who are not as rich but are very religious, like this notion of generosity is then just basically appreciating what you have versus. So I'm just having this, I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can still have a lot, but if you're not appreciative, then you're not understanding the generosity, if that makes sense.
And actually, if you think about it, so sometimes very poor people might be much more thankful. I mean, let's not talk about even religiosity, but like a king or a super rich person, that person is going to be satisfied with the like Michelin 5-star restaurant food only. Like a street vendor is going to be like nothing or anything of that sort. But for a hungry person, maybe a dry bread is going to taste so beautiful. And that hungry person is going to be super grateful for finding this dry bread. So the existence of dry bread is a manifestation of generosity. But if I am ignorant, yes, I might not see what is in here to be thankful for. It's just dry bread. If it's not 5 Michelin star, I'm not going to say it even good. So it's being me ignorant to the generosity out there. Otherwise, anything that exists is a plus. Like it is a generosity. It could have been nothing, but I have something. So as if I have one eye, it's one eye. Like it's not like, oh, he has 2 eyes. Why do I have one eye? One eye is more than 0 eyes. Like if I don't have any eyes, I have ears. Whatever is in existence is actually a generosity because nobody owes me anything. So in this sense, actually, if I'm not ignorant, I would find a lot of things to be thankful for. And this is why actually we were alluding to that during the retreat as well. So when it comes to religion, religion means deen, and deen means feeling indebted. Like in Arabic, it's deen, and it comes from the word dain, which is indebtedness. So if I don't feel indebted, then religion is just a identity, a meaningless identity on top of me. If a person feels indebted, then we can talk about true religion. Otherwise, this is why the issue is, and generosity becomes apparent if I feel indebted. If I don't feel indebted, if I feel entitled to receive, then I wouldn't observe generosity. And maybe this is why in our lives we can ask the question, do I feel, and the litmus test for that is, am I being angry for certain things? Like I get out of the house and it's raining and I'm becoming upset. Why? I feel like as if I was owed a sunny, beautiful, who owes you that? So I didn't see, due to my wrong expectations, I feel like I'm entitled to have a certain thing and I was going to design the creation and so on and so forth. So whenever I have this anger towards creation, actually, I am falling into this, just the opposite of not seeing generosity, not seeing beauty. So this is why there's no religion in my life. So you were right about religiosity, but religiosity in here shouldn't simply mean this ethnic identity, but rather more like feeling indebted. If I feel indebted, then I guess everything fits into the picture.
I just wanted to add, like, not only like feeling like entitled to something, like for now, if we think about it, like feeling that this is like what people say, this is the natural way of things going. Like it's the normal thing to have 2 eyes and 2 ears and all that, or like it's the normal thing that in the summer to have a sunny day, it's so that's how you forget, like as you said, if you have a
rainy day, it makes you upset because it's like kind of not the normal thing, and you forget why should even like we wake up in the morning and why should the sun shine on us? You know, that's the like the other question. So I feel like this is more what people say when they are like atheists or not believers. So it's the normal thing. It's the natural thing that this should have happened after, you know, after this. Like winter should come after fall, you know, like, I mean, who said it should? Yeah, but because this is what's happening. Yeah.
And so about being rich or poor. So the examples author is giving, I think he's doing it purposefully, that the things that everybody has access to, like the moon, the stars, lamp, the sun, the flowers, all these things, and they alone enough to see the generosity. The rest, I guess, this artificial richness that we create around us. And like when we think about it, it's really interesting metaphor. The city lights prevent you to see the stars. I think this is like a beautiful metaphor telling us that these artificial things that you accumulate around you and you call richness, they actually prevent you to see the real beauty or to reach the real richness. When we say richness, the first thing comes to our mind is usually, you know, a beautiful house or homes, multiple of them, cars, you know, the beautiful dresses, you know, different ways of transportations, like you have your private jet or whatever. And when you think about them, they are so artificial. They don't touch your soul. Like, I'm sure people who have, you know, private jets enjoying some part of it, I'm sure. Like, I'm not claiming the otherwise. But it doesn't touch your soul, that's for sure. Like, it doesn't give you the same, you know, the feelings that you look at the stars. I think it's something different. Yes, it is type of richness. I guess it's a type of bounty. So you can think it as some people are given even more. And you say, I hope they appreciate more. Otherwise, they will become their wood to be, you know, burned in the hell. Metaphorically speaking. Like you say, you know, they have more to worry about. I have that much, and I ask myself, am I appreciating enough? So when it comes to becoming richer and richer, you say, oh, I have to be more and more, you know, appreciating. Otherwise, it will becomes a burden on my shoulders. But anyway, as I said, I think the artificial lights, the city lights preventing you to see the stars is a perfect metaphor that we can apply to any kind of artificial richness that we talk. That's one thing. So going back to what Yusuf was referring to, or the artist being one thing to be observed and so on. So I read this part as actually like a kind of like a deeper understanding of the same argument. On the surface level, I guess author starts with another type of argument, which is you see this endless generosity, but then you see everything is fading away. So they are kind of contradictory, right? So you say, if there is such an endless generosity, which I see with my own eyes, so there must be some other explanation of these seemingly dying things. So you say they must be going to somewhere else. So I guess that's the, at least the argument at the surface level. And then the author is talking about the people, as you were saying, that who enjoy these things. But again, I guess the one step there is like saying something like, because we believe in creator, I guess it's making a jump there. So instead, I would prefer, like, we see this endless generosity and beauty, and I enjoy it. And when this enjoyment ceases, I have this, this pain. And this pain, again, contradictory to this generosity and beauty. So there must be another explanation of this pain. And then this pain becomes a messenger for you and tells you that actually there is another realm calling for you. Right? So the enjoyment that you have in this world is just an example of it. But where it comes from, there's endless, treasures. So you should be aiming for that. You should be going there, actually. This pain tells me. This pain, it's like a wake-up call. I was trying to enjoy this reality, these worldly things, and I see, like, everybody see flowers. Everybody enjoy them. You don't have to be believer. But then everybody also have the pain of losing them. Right? We say the spring was perfect. I don't like, the summertime. Or the summer was perfect. I don't like the fall. Or the fall was perfect. I don't like the winter. So the beauty for everyone is for everyone. The change is for everyone. The pain comes with the change is for everyone, again. But what you understand from this pain, I guess, differentiate whether you are a believer or not.
So to reach such a conclusion that like this,
To reach a conclusion where basically the pain is a wake-up call for something that is more beautiful and more eternal, you have to believe that there is a creator who is...
I guess what you should, yes, definitely.
Otherwise, you'll be just depressed and
Exactly.
suicide.
Exactly. And what you believe, so I guess we should clarify what we mean with, I believe in the creator. So author says what you believe is, at least what the author says, how Quran defines the belief, he says, is that when you look at the flower, you see the beauty there. And you realize that everything is changing, but the beauty is constant. So there must be a beautiful creator, you say. So the creator is a conclusion, not the starting point of the argument. So you say that there must be a creator, the beautiful one. And this pain is also created by the same creator. So there must, hence you take it as wake-up call. This is beautiful, like everything I see in the creation is beautiful. Where is the beautiful part of this pain that I experience? And it tells you that this eternal bliss is waiting for you. You say that, oh, alhamdulillah, this is even more beautiful than the flowers that I used to experience. Any comments, questions? Oh, go ahead, please.
Can we then consider pain as Allah's generosity?
For sure, yes. Otherwise, you would be lost,
Right.
with this constantly changing and dying creature, like a creation. You would be like a mindless, like in the movies or the animations and so on. We have these creatures like characters. They are like kind of mindless. One example is how familiar you are with Star Wars.
Okay.
The Jar Jar Binks. Only Ashanur understands me. So there are these, the key characters who just, enjoy something, it disappears, and he says, oh, there is another one, let me enjoy this. And then it disappears, it's run away the other one, play with the other things. So we would be like such a character then. And actually, like, would be maybe just an extra. We are like this when we are unbelievers. So don't take this believer thing as a, how would you say, like, unchanging title. Like, you take it and it stays there, like a tattoo, permanent thing. Like, it's like a moment by moment, you are a believer or unbeliever for within each moment. When you are an unbeliever, when you don't see that it is being created by the beautiful creator, then when you lose something, you search for another thing, like a mindless creature, right? You say, oh yeah, this star died away, let me look at another star, and then another shiny thing, and then another shiny thing. That's how we are. But when you have this pain out of generosity, again, it acts like a wake-up call.
Well, I guess it's like in the loss of a thing, right? You are able to appreciate it much more. And so maybe through losing things, we are being given an invitation to increase our appreciation of things that exist. Yeah, I don't know. That's it.
Yep.
And I think about, especially at this point, in the story of Ayyub alayhi salam, he was given this disease and he was patient. But patient, what does patient mean in here? Because he didn't ask for health at this moment. He was patient because this disease was an opportunity to realize what he didn't offer thanks for in the past. I didn't realize that I was healthy, so let me observe disease. And for example, when you miss a prayer, what do? You make qada, so what? Replacement. So like you go ahead and fix, referring to the past. Let's say if I am sick today, it's an opportunity to make qada of the thanks that I didn't offer for when I was healthy. So the duration of disease is an opportunity for invitation to fix what I didn't thank for in the past. So for Ayyub alayhi salam's case, as Quran is teaching us him, so he was patiently thankful for the duration of the disease until the worms started eating his heart and his tongue, meaning his iman started to get hurt with the disease now. He's not able to offer thanks anymore. Because we are human at the end of the day, there can come a point of a disease that I cannot see the wisdom behind it, the purpose behind it. And at that moment, he asked for help.
I would say more times than not, you don't see the wisdom behind things anyway.
Speak on behalf of yourself. Like,
I am. Oh man.
the person you are talking to is Yusuf.
Yeah.
I think this is like, especially in the case, the way Quran depicts it to us, the purpose of life is learning, but especially, let's say in America, we have American dream, which is paradise on earth. So our purpose on earth in America is not to learn. Our purpose in life is to enjoy. Like after 30 years, of course, after all the loans and everything is paid. So, but this is the goal in here. So it's a totally different perspective. And in such a perspective, yes, we wouldn't be happy, right? But if I see it as learning, it's going to be different. And I see this difference in students. There is one type of students who are letter grade oriented, majority. And there's a small group which are learning oriented. And for them, exams are fun, assignments are fun, everything is fun for the learning oriented students. For the letter grade oriented students, assignments are boring and torture. Lectures are boring. It would be nice if there's no attendance and he doesn't need to come to the class. If I give an A, he would just not come to the class at all. So this is our mindset, I think. So this is why we are as you said, we are like not only you, but because of our mindset not being ikra, but more like enjoy. This is what's it.
If you're a student that doesn't care about grades or learning,
Okay, we reached the end of our discussion today. Inshallah, I like to end with another metaphor for future use. Is you were talking about the paradise on earth and the American dream. I guess the one symbol that explains this paradise on earth the best way is the city that we build on nothing, which is desert, the Las Vegas. This is, I guess, the symbol of the paradise on earth. So this is what happens when you try to build a paradise on earth as a human yourself. You end up with Las Vegas.
what about Dubai?
Sorry, it's the same thing. I don't see any difference, but we are under like this is being recorded. So jazakallah khairan. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha.
We don't have Arabs.